This Alloy USA differential cable lock is for those of you that have a 1987 to 1995 YJ with the Dana 30 front axle and 2 to 6 inches of lift that are looking to get rid of that vacuum actuated four-wheel drive locking mechanism in the front axle. Now this is going to be something that will install pretty easily onto your Jeep. I'm gonna say it'll take you no more than 2 hours, probably closer to an hour to get installed. You will have to route this cable up into the cab, which can take a little bit of time because you want to make sure it's not going to get kinked or damaged in any way, but overall, pretty easy install that won't take all that much time, and we'll talk a little bit more about it in just a second. So in that Dana 30 on your YJ, you actually have a split axle shaft, and what that does is just allow for a little bit less rolling resistance and better miles per gallon when the Jeep is in two-wheel drive. However, when you shift into four-wheel drive, it's supposed to lock up that split axle shaft so that you can have four-wheel drive in that front axle. However, that whole mechanism is vacuum actuated, and as we all know with older vehicles and vacuum lines, things can crack, things can break, and just generally not work how they should. Now, there are a couple of different solutions to that problem. You can permanently lock that axle shaft together by changing the mechanics inside of that actuator box, so you no longer need to actuate it, it's just always locked together. You can swap out your axle shaft for a one-piece one instead of one that has that break in it. Or you can do something like this, and this is going to replace the vacuum system with a much more reliable cable system. Again, it's going to be something that's pretty easy to install as opposed to a one-piece axle shaft. It's going to be less work and less expensive as well. Now, if you consider just permanently locking things together, that can be done very inexpensively, just drilling a hole and using a bolt that you probably already have laying around. But if you want to retain the ability to lock and unlock that axle shaft, something like this is an excellent option. As for construction, this is a pretty simple setup. This here is going to replace that vacuum actuator that you have. Your shift fork goes right up in here, but instead of the vacuum actuating the shift fork, the cable does. So again, this comes in a couple of different lengths. This is the length for 2 to 6 inches of lift. It's going to give you plenty of cable to get from that front axle up through the firewall and mount this button somewhere that it's very easy to reach. Also isn't going to get in the way of course, anything that's moving, anything that's hot, or the pedals. This is going to come with, of course, all the gaskets and the hardware that you need. Here it has an electronic indicator that'll tie right into your four-wheel drive indication as well. So it's a very well put together kit. It's a very complete kit. For the installation, again, 1 out of 3 wrenches, 2 hours or less to get this done. All you'll have to do is disconnect the factory vacuum mechanism. You're going to be replacing that with this mechanism here. You'll have to route your cable, get that mounted. There is a recommendation of where to mount this inside of your YJ, where it's not going to get tangled up or anything or in the way, but it's still going to be very easily accessible. And then you'll route the cable down to the new mechanism here. Again, pretty straightforward, pretty easy install, very good instructions come with this setup. This kit comes in at right around $135, and I do think that's a pretty good deal. Like I mentioned before, if you were to get a one-piece axle shaft to fix your problem of a broken vacuum actuation system, that is a more involved install and a more expensive fix, and you still cannot lock and unlock the axle shaft. The same thing with the much less expensive fix of just permanently locking things together by bolting the shift fork into place. This is a solution that doesn't require vacuum, is very, very reliable, and is an easy install that still retains the ability to lock and unlock that axle shaft. So I think this is kind of the best of both worlds, and it's affordably priced for what you're getting. So if you're looking to retain the ability to lock and unlock that front axle shaft just like your factory system had, but you want something much more reliable than that vacuum system, I definitely recommend taking a look at this item from Alloy USA, and you can find it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.